Well, many thanks for joining us here on Prime Edition. My name is Jerome Paul Sanker. It is a Thursday, the 10th day of March 2022. We are still counting those days down. The third month of the year 2022, a year of economic recovery. We're coming to you live from plot 42 Nile Avenue, and this is what we have for you in regards to do with our stories of the day. Well, kicking it off with our very first story, as last year Uganda participated at the United Nations Climate Change Conference at the Scottish Event Centre in Glasgow, that is in Scotland, and the conference resolved to preserve the environment. So now we're looking at what happened afterwards. A report regarding what happened at the COP26 in Glasgow. Let's have the details.
Honorable Beatrice Anywa, Minister of State for Water and Environment, revealed that she led the Ugandan team, and among the issues that were disclosed that included securing global net zero by mid-century and keep 1.5 degrees centigrade within reach.
With included the ministry, different ministries. At least we're happy to go there with the different ministries represented of government, departments, agencies, local government, academia, parliamentarians, private sector, civil society, and then you, the media. The issue at hand was securing global net zero by mid-century. That was one of the issues at hand. I'm giving the summary almost. And then we had also to focus to adopt, to protect communities and natural habitats. We went with the aim of mobilizing funds and then networking and working together to deliver on the conservation measures. The conference also included World Leaders Summit that was led and hosted by United Kingdom Prime Minister, Right Honorable Boris Johnson, and I was privileged to represent the President in that World Leaders Summit, and the President's message was read therein, emphasizing that what happens with the climate is unruly, greedy people with bad actions. That was his summary of his letter.
Anywa disclosed that they also addressed an issue regarding money totaling up to $100 billion to help the developing countries to intervene in climate conservation.
The developing countries who are contributing less to the emission, but we think we can do a lot to address the issue of climate change, that it needs to be released. The March talked about $100 billion to be released to help us intervene in the conservation process is one of the central issues which was at hand. And maybe that could be of great interest to Ugandans, because it should have propelled us from where we are in the issue of conservation, tree planting, and so on.
Taking part at the United Nations Climate Change Conference, the government also had expectations which included funding needed for loss and damage like flooding cases in Kasese.
Also expected to include financing for already national determined contribution guidelines we have given out. Like Uganda, we have already our guidelines of restoration of 100 years program, which needed also funding. We also wanted development of robust agenda for climate finance for 2025. It should have been put in action. We had also, in the process of negotiation, included funding which is needed for loss and damage, which is a new dimension of negotiation. This one maybe, if I had time, I would expound on that. The loss and damage, like what is happening in Kasese, because of the effect of climate change. That part of the country is also flooding. As it flooded, it destroyed infrastructure, loss of lives and property. How do we factor this loss and damage into the climate change finances to be catered for? The effect of climate change, we are the less contributors, but the effect is so huge to us. How do we get the funding to compensate and make good that destruction?
The outcome of the COP26 Glasgow conference was to move for important progress, which would make a number of areas, but still off track to beat back the climate crisis. Sevia Tungichirize, Smart 24 Prime News.
Well, as a matter of fact, we need to continue safeguarding our environment so as to address the matters to do with climate change. Well, away from that, now let's talk SEACOM expansion to Uganda. As of today, SEACOM has unveiled its regional expansion strategy for Uganda and East African markets at large at a special networking breakfast event in Uganda at the Kampala Serena Hotel. Andrew Barije has the details.
Attending the event was a cross-section of business partners, key government ministries and parastatals in Uganda, and SEACOM executives from Uganda, East Africa, and the group office. At the unveiling of the region expansion strategy, Godfrey Baluku, Minister of State for National Guidance under the Ministry of ICT and National Guidance, has urged Ugandans to engage support for the network through acquisition of its services to boost competition and innovation in the country.
Ugandans should welcome these investments. First of all, they come with a lot of advantages. First of all, they are joining the sector means they are coming into a sector to compete. And you know, in business, when there is competition, then there is efficiency in delivery of services. Otherwise, if someone enjoys a monopoly, he cannot improve. But now that they have come, and they have come with new technology, they are acquiring the infrastructure of Afrocell, but they have also come with new technology. Then the rest of the providers who have been around have to wake up and also improve their technology. And obviously, as a country, we also know that internet has to be accessible first of all, and then affordable. So,
Tejpal Betty, the managing director for East Africa, stated that regional expansion strategy is a testament to SEACOM's commitment to providing a competitive end-to-end connectivity and ICT solutions across the East African region.
So we've actually acquired some assets that will give us 800 kilometers of fiber on the ground, a data center. And that's what we intend to use to give better connectivity to our customers and continue working with our partners here as well, to actually give an end-to-end, solution. So SEACOM obviously comes from internet connectivity, and we definitely do a very good job on that. But the roadmap is really on what more is required, talking to some of the guests that have come here from the banking, the insurance, the manufacturing, what are your challenges? What's top of mind when you are doing business transformation? What's your digital journey? Those are things that we want to sit with companies, help them resolve the challenges they have, and really build for them a business that is very, efficient.
Olive Fortune, the chief executive officer, SEACOM Group, echoed out the intention of the company to offer a conducive space for the small and medium enterprises through the introduction of the WonderNet.
Our business is sort of broken up into three entities, and the one entity we have is called digital. For SMEs, for large customers, Access and the ability to work with people like SEACOM is relatively easy because we have dedicated resources. For SMEs, it's a bit more difficult because SMEs, by definition, there are a lot of SMEs. And what you have to do is create an environment where SMEs can almost control the interaction with you themselves. So that's self-provisioning, being able to check things and so on. And we have digital platforms. We have something called WonderNet. And WonderNet is something that is one of those expansion items. When I talk about expanding the portfolio, WonderNet is something that we will bring to market as a digital platform. That makes it much easier for SMEs to interact with us.
Barija Andrew, Smart 24.
Well, away from that now, let's talk agricultural products and agricultural produce into the European continent when it comes to exportation, as the European Union offers market for East African community products such as coffee, flowers, tobacco, tea, fish and vegetables, plus precious metal ores, among others. Let's have the details of this report as Naomi Mutumba has reported.
James Kanyije, the executive director Keke Foods, says most of the vegetables grown in Uganda are exported to the European Union market, apart from a few like tomatoes, onions, among others.
Pepper, some parts of Spain grow onions, and mainly those, the courgettes, mainly those just products that are well grown in the European Union or in their closest business partners, so they are cheap there, so we don't compete. And those are the crops, those are the products that we don't export, unless there is a need.
He further adds that to export to the European market, there are criteria that need to be followed. With the Ukraine-Russia nuclear war, James says that this is going to affect the exports since even the flight costs are very high.
It will not be the same for the next 5 years. The business will never be the same again with the COVID-19 and then Russia and Ukraine war, which may spill over to other places, and it is going to affect it. This you are seeing is ice. You call it what? Iceberg, or they call it a small piece or quarter of an orange when it is cut in 4 pieces. We are yet to see destruction of the industries. The reason is when energy is expensive. First of all, we have very expensive electricity to add value. Now we are going to have very expensive locomotive movement. I mean, the fuel that moves, runs the vehicles, runs the generators. Because we are yet to see if now, today or tomorrow, Russia bans the exportation of their fuel. Then a barrel of crude oil will go to 300, and that means the petrol, a liter will go at 10,000 or plus. And that means the end of the business. Because currently the freight has gone up to $2.50, which was $1.35. We are contemplating on what to do. Because even the scarcity of the aeroplanes out of the country is another obstacle to the business currently.
Many farmers use chemicals during crop harvest to control pesticides. However, James says this affects the health of humans.
It affects you and us. As I said in my beginning, I said we do not buy in those markets. We produce directly from the farm. Our produce are tested on arrival in European Union for chemical residues. And we are passing. But the most important thing is that what I saw is that those irresponsible farmers should stop it. Because chemicals are used and are protected, are used well in time. That's why we always say post-service interval for chemical application. That's why they are there. But what I saw is that maybe some farmers apply chemicals when they have already harvested. But that is for the domestic market, which must stop also, because it can be a source of cancer, of any disease in your system. So, but no one should be worried about the European Union, because our production is based on standard. is based on human nature, because for us we grow for a market which specifies what they want in terms of chemical, in terms of pest, and the quality parameters. So we use all those to produce for export.
The value of the region's exports to European Union rose to 9.6 trillion in 2021, increasing by 8%. East Africa's exports to the European Union shot up amid its trials of COVID-19 lockdown.
Naomi Mutumba. Value, value, value. And this comes at a time when the Russian war is still prevailing, the Russian and Ukraine war. Though reports coming in yesterday was that Russia ceased fire for a moment. But in regards to that, we do have quite a market in the European Union when you look at agricultural produce in that particular regard. Well, away from that, still speaking of exports, we take a look at what is happening with our neighbors, Democratic Republic of Congo, as Uganda's exports to Democratic Republic of Congo have jumped to $74.3 million US compared to Kenya's $40.9 million US with the same country, which has for years been Uganda's largest export. When you look at Kenya, now Uganda's largest export destination in East African community and COMESA trading blocks. Surprisingly, it's now the Democratic Republic of Congo, which apparently also is a new member of the East African Community Bloc. Let's have a look at this report.
Uganda's export to DR Congo almost doubled those to Kenya, registering an all-time high according to data from Bank of Uganda. It is difficult to understand whether the January jump was a one-off, but the exports, which grew by 44% in that same month, according to Bank of Uganda, have been growing through 2021, peaking in January to an all-time high. Uganda has been exploring new markets for its exports to overcome challenges of trade blockades instituted by the traditional trade partners such as Kenya, Tanzania and Rwanda. Bank of Uganda data indicates that Uganda's share of export earnings to DRC increased to $74.3 million US, which is 267 billion shillings in January, up from $29.9 billion US, totaling to 107 billion shillings in December. Bank of Uganda data indicates that Uganda's share of export earnings to DRC increased to $74.3 million US. The increase opens up a new frontier market for Ugandan exports that have heavily suffered restricted entry in a number of East African countries in the last 4 years. Over the years, Kenya has been Uganda's leading export destination among East Africa and COMESA partner states. During the period, according to the central bank, Uganda's exports to Kenya stood at $40.9 million US, which is almost 147 billion shillings. That was a recovery from a drop to $36.5 million US in December. The trend signals that Uganda is making inroads into the DR Congo market, whereas it has committed millions of dollars to work on the road infrastructure and security. Uganda is currently conducting road works and military operations inside DR Congo with the view of creating a safe trading environment as well as dealing with terror cells which allegedly have been using parts of the eastern DR Congo as a base to destabilize Uganda. The increase in trade comes on back of the search for new markets by cement, steel, household items and dairy products manufacturers who, after experiencing trade blockades in Kenya and Rwanda, sought new export frontiers. In the late 90s, Uganda's exports to DR Congo were just $0.5 million US. However, this has grown tremendously due to improvements in bilateral relations. DR Congo holds so much potential for Uganda export marketing because Uganda is land-linked with DR Congo and it holds a greater advantage over the other countries. Uganda is connected to DR Congo through Mpondwe, Bunagana and West Nile. Another access route has been created with the construction of the Kisoro and Bundibujo access roads. Sevia Tumichirize for Smart 24 Prime News.
It's now time for sports. The other story coming in from Sevia Tumichirize. Just wanted to get the name right. Well, In terms of sport, we are going to start up with basketball as the National Basketball League gets 200 million Ugandan shillings as the National Basketball League 2022 gets underway. Now, the 2022 National Basketball League season is officially expected to set off tomorrow as it was launched by the Federation of Uganda Basketball Associations, FUBA, earlier this week, with sponsorship of 200 million Ugandan shillings ahead of the new campaign. And you know who? Hudson Chigozi takes us through.
FUBA General Secretary Hudson Segamweng described the upcoming 2020 league as one that is worthy following due to an off-season since the 2019 finals, which were won by City Oilers after beating UCU Cannons. 13 men's teams and 13 women's teams will play a total of 123 games in the first round of this season. The 2022 season starts this Friday at the MTN Arena in Lugogo with 2 games on the card. KCCA Leopards will come up against KIU Rangers in the season opener, while the other game later in the evening will be between title holder City Oilers and a rejuvenated Namongo Blazers side. Saturday fixtures will have A1 challenge against Nabisunsa at YMCA Wandegea, KCCA Panthers to play against Victoria University at the Sharing Hall in Zambia, as Betway Power host Falcons, UCU Lady Cannons to demonstrate against JKL Lady and UCU Cannons to play against KIU Titan.
Jeff Hudson Chigozi is still with us though. Now, we're going to speak the UEFA Europa League. Speaking football, yesterday night was Champions League football. Was an amazing night where you could definitely see big Karim Benzema walking away with 3 goals past FC PSG. That's PSG at the Bernabeu. Well, today, the UEFA Europa League does return as the round of 16 first leg will see West Ham, who are willing to make history. And then we shall be having, besides RB Leipzig and Spartak Moscow, that was cancelled due to UEFA decisions of expelling all Russian clubs from its competition due to the Russian-Ukraine invasion. Jeff Hudson Chigozi still with the details.
Besides RB Leipzig and Spartak Moscow's game that was cancelled due to UEFA's decision of expelling all Russian clubs from its competitions due to Russian invasion of Ukraine. Tonight, 5 games are on the cards as Sevilla welcome West Ham United from England at the Ramon Sanchez Pizjuan Stadium in Spain. Barcelona will host Turkey-based club Galatasaray at the Camp Nou in Spain. Braga will play against Monaco in Portugal. Rangers to host Crasvena's Veda in Scotland as Atalanta welcome Bayer Leverkusen at Giuseppe Meazza Stadium in Italy. Kalutoka Ikambi from Lyon is the tournament top scorer with 6 goals. Patson Daka from Leicester City with 5. Ricardo Hort of Braga, Silo Immobile and Victor Osimhen all have 4 goals. Jeff Hudson Chigozi, Smart 24 Prime News.
A voice deep, a voice amazing. Jeff Hudson Chigozi with details to do with sport. Well, when you look at this particular story, it reminds me of Carl Toko Ekambi. You've heard of the name in the African Cup of Nations, didn't you? One of the top scorers there, but still a top scorer in here when it comes to what is happening from the UEFA Europa League, and he's playing for Olympique Lyon in Paris, in France. Well, if I would say that's it that we've actually had for you in tonight's edition of Prime Edition. Well, look and say, for example, as we are actually winding up, teach yourself to be a better person every other day that comes by, because we are always facing a lot of challenges. And then furthermore, try to create friendship that is going to push you forward. Every new day comes with lessons for us to adopt, and it's very wise of us if at all we can pick up the negatives and try to make them right. With that particular regard, I would definitely say yes, thank you for this particular one and being part of our live broadcast from plot 42 Nile Avenue here on Smart 24 TV. If you do want to advertise with us, you can do that definitely by coming here and grow bigger with your business. Well, add us up on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram on at Smart 24 TV. That's on the 3 socials, and then on YouTube for more business reports and anything regarding business, interviews, and obviously all reports for business. Please subscribe and like the YouTube channel. With that, we shall end here with the Prime Edition, but tomorrow, kickstarting your morning, we shall be having SMB and kickstarting your day fresh with new business reports, taking you through a brand new day. I'm Jerome Paul Sonko, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and it's a good night for now.